to the cloud. Welcome, those of you who've just joined us. We'll get started in a couple minutes. You are muted automatically upon entry, but you're welcome to unmute yourself to say hello. We'll ask that you keep yourself muted though once the presentation begins. Hi.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to see you all.
Nice to see you too. Good to see you guys.
Some of you I know, some of you I don't.
Nice to see you again.
Thanks, you too.
Darla, do you want to get started at about 3 after? Let folks who are figuring out how to get on, get on.
Sure. Alexa, play relaxing classical music.
Station, classical focus, free on Amazon Music.
Alexa, increase volume by 5%. I don't know if you can hear it. I should have, oh, for Bill, I should have been, Alexa, play jazz.
Station, ultimate jazz, free on Amazon Music.
Oh.
That's pretty old jazz.
Elevator music.
That's for this generation.
Hi, Daniel.
Alexa, you want to turn on. Alexa, turn off.
Alexa, turn off. Alexa.
It's already off. There you go.
All right.
Should we go ahead and get started?
Sure. So hello everyone and welcome to SUAC's November Ag Ed, which is actually our virtual garden tour. And today we have the same 4 local experts that we had last time, but this time we're going to check up on their progress. Do we have any other announcements? I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, thank you so much for coming, everyone. And this has been a very interesting month. So we had that week off last week, and we're going to be posting the video for the last meeting. So we'll do this video tonight, and then we'll go ahead and post the video of what we did last month, so then you can kind of see what we did in the past. Whoever didn't see last month's video, we'll be posting that tonight. And then as soon as this one gets edited, we'll post this one as well. Okay.
And Darla, I'm going to butt in for a little Zoom housekeeping. Everybody, you're muted upon your arrival. We'll have some time for some questions. So during that time, feel free to unmute yourself, or while the videos of the garden tours are going, feel free to ask some questions in the chat. But while our presenters are presenting and the videos are playing, please keep yourself muted. The audio from the videos will be coming through through the Zoom. So if you're having trouble hearing it, it might be your computer's volume. So if it seems quiet, just turn your volume up on your computer. And I think that's about it. Enjoy, and I'll turn it back over to Lisa and Darla.
Thank you, Heather. All right, so this is your panel, and you will have an opportunity to ask questions at the end of each video, a couple questions at the end of each video, and then at the end, we're gonna have a panel style Q&A where you can ask any remaining questions you have of any of our experts. So we're gonna start tonight with Whitney Blair, who is going to catch us up on where she is with her home garden and vermiculture. She has a Master of Arts in Sustainability. She's a yoga instructor and an outdoor enthusiast. And here we go.
Hi everyone, so welcome to my garden. So here's my raised bed, and I think last time you guys saw that I had a lot of watermelon, and I moved them all to this side of the bed so that I could kind of start growing other things on this side. And I think it's starting to cool down, maybe a little bit more than watermelons like, but we'll see if they reach their full potential. And the tomatoes are not being attacked anymore by the little cucumbers that were eating them before. And I have one little tomato guy over here, just starting to come in. And my cayenne pepper, I don't know if you were able to see it when the watermelon vines were everywhere, but he was not happy when it was hot. But he just started growing some leaves, and he has his first little cayenne pepper over here. I think it's gonna turn red, but I'm not sure. It's my first time growing cayenne. And I have 2 more bell peppers right here. They're gonna be the yellow bell peppers, I believe. And these are red cabbage. And then there's 4 mustard greens, 1, 2, 3, and olives, right, the 4th one. There is 2 Swiss chard on this side and 2 broccoli, and it's the same setup on that other side. It's just hard to see with the vine. And then my herbs, parsley, basil. This one I believe, I've always heard it called Cuban oregano, and this one is rosemary. And my little seedlings, I start them in there. So I have broccoli, and I'm trying to do a variety of lettuce in there. So we'll see if they come up. Olive, we don't walk on the bed. And I have a few more herbs over here. I have my lemongrass, and I originally had my mint in the raised bed, but mint likes to take over, so I moved it over here. And then on this side, I'm hiding a few little chive friends that are coming up. And follow me over to, so this is in my idea, this is like more my little veggie area. I know I have watermelon and tomato and peppers right now that are technically fruits, but this is, I would like to develop this into my more fruit area. So I just got started. I planned, so this was here last time, my banana. And I'm gonna actually try to get one of the blue bananas and add it to the mix, because I want a mix of bananas over here, maybe like a banana circle eventually. And yesterday I added a mulberry, and I accidentally broke this piece off, so I stuck it in there, and we'll see if it grows some roots. I don't know what variety of mulberry, so I'm gonna be surprised. And I planted a head of a pineapple yesterday also. And my idea is to do kind of like a mini circle with the pineapple, so it's gonna like come out this way, and it'll be like my little fruit circle off in the corner. And I have some, probably a little bit more compost than last time. I always have some frogs that like to jump around. Olive wants to be in all the shots. So right now I just finished filling this side, so I'm filling this side now, and this side I'm leaving to decompose. Sometimes the worms are at the top, but I watered it yesterday, so it sometimes means that they go hide. Let's see what we find today. Oh, there's some guys that don't usually like to be disturbed. One day I came in here and I just started digging. I just did like one turn and there was like 100 worms. And it really freaked me out because I wasn't expecting it. And then I was like, no, that's good. But it looks really weird the first time you see it. Don't know if you can see the little wormies. I find that they tend to like to all hang out together too. So if you find their little clump, their little home, they tend to all be together. What I really like about this subpod is that they can kind of come and go as they want. So there's holes all along the outside. So sometimes I'm noticing when I'm watering or when I'm just digging around in it, they actually head to the exits. So they can come and go, which is kind of nice. I was looking at different things that I could use in my compost, and I'm learning that they don't like things that are citrus, so I can't put any citrus in here, and they don't like salt because that also burns their skin. So they've been doing pretty good though, so I feel like we're coming along. And last time I told you I'm not supposed to use the pine needles, so I think what I'm going to be using primarily for my dry is going to be coconut coir. So pretty easy to find online and more sustainable than peat moss. And I think that's the tour of my little garden. Just cover my little wormies back up. What is that covers it up? This came with the sub pod. I think it just kind of keeps them dark because I think worms like it dark. And it seems like it'll keep it dark enough, but since they gave it to me, I just cover it up with it. I try to remember to water it every couple of days because I want worms to be my primary decomposer. And if you let it get too dry, ants try to take over because they want all the yummy decomposing stuff also. But I haven't had an issue where it seems like the ants are harming the worms. And if I keep it pretty wet, they stay at bay. And thanks, guys.
Okay, and thank you, Whitney, for that wonderful video. And so now we're going to see if we've got a couple of questions.
We had some questions in the chat. What kind of vermicompost bins are those? Because they've never seen them before and they look exciting. So Whitney, what brand is that and where'd you find it?
They are called sub pods, and I did a lot of research because I was looking for a compost bin that was kind of unassuming. While I love gardening and all things to do with gardening, my partner is new to this world and he'd wanted everything to kind of look like the HOA version of a neighborhood. So we tried to find an in-between, and I liked this because it was underground. You barely see it other than the little lid, and it's pretty easy to take care of. So subpod, S-U-B-P-O-D.
Great. And then the other question was, why not use pine needles as your carbon? I saw you were using coconut coir.
So originally I was like, I have pine trees all around. I'm going to use pine needles. And a little after I used the pine needles and I mixed it all in, a little voice in my head said, you should look that up. So I looked it up, and it said that as they break down, the pine needles are a little acidic and too acidic for the worms. So it can kind of make them uncomfortable. And I didn't want them to all leave my bin. So I took them out one by hand, and that took forever.
All right. Thank you so much, Whitney. And we are going to move on to our next.
Okay, so this next speaker, Anna Scott, she's actually sick tonight, so we have a stand-in for tonight, which is her assistant at the Gladiators Gardening for Good at the Pioneer Garden. So we're going to play a video that we actually did for Earth Day of that garden, and then Veronica is going to be available to answer some questions from that. So we hope that Anna gets better soon and that she can come back. And so if she gets better, and when she gets better, then we're going to go to the garden. We'll do another video, and we can upload that to the SUAC page as well. So for now, let's go ahead and we can watch the video that she did of the garden at Pioneer.
Okay.
We have to make full screen first.
Right.
This one is it's a link to the Facebook. So give us a moment. We're just going to open it up and then we can unmute it. Okay, great.
Hey, good morning, everybody. We're here at the Gladiator Growing for Good Farm at the Pioneer Settlement at Boyd Hill. And even though our students haven't been with us for a while now, we have some amazing volunteers that are helping us maintain the garden through the end of the season, which will be the end of the school year. We were really fortunate right at the beginning of all of this social isolation and cancellation of school that we got some volunteers to help us build a compost bin. So we've been harvesting all the weeds. You can see Miss Middleton has a giant batch of weeds.
Perfect timing.
And we're going to put them right in the compost bin so that we can start feeding the soil for next year. We were really lucky to inherit good soil from Ray Wunderlich, who's taken a great job of the garden so well that we just planted it, everything grew great, but we need to start feeding the soil so that it's ready to help us produce food next season in the fall. So like I said, the volunteers are here, we're cleaning, we're continuing to donate to Daystar Food Bank. We took 4 large baskets of produce over last week, and we're going to do that through the end of May. But come and take a look at our compost bin. We've got a couple more stalls to build, but we just collected some wood pallets, and Boyd Hill provided us with some chicken wire so that we can hold in our materials. We're going to layer our vegetable cuttings and all of our weeds that wouldn't be invasive as our green nitrogen. And what we're going to do is then we're going to layer it with brown carbon, so green, brown, green, brown. We also were fortunate to have a truckload of mulch donated today. So we're going to collect all those weeds. Miss Middleton is bringing them over, a load at a time. They're going to start to melt down. We're going to cover them with the carbon, then we'll keep turning them so that it will create new soil for the plants, and it'll be full of all sorts of nutrients that will then make the food healthier for us. So that's what's going on here. We still have a lot of things going in the garden. We have some really cool up and over. Some of our warm weather things are coming in. These are Asian noodle beans. So they've started to grow and they'll get long. Like this. And you can eat it just like a green bean. You just cut it into sections, but this is called a red noodle bean. So these are very happy in the warm weather. We still have some green peppers coming on, but then you can see the things that are leaving. These are mustard greens that are these are creating little seed pods. So we're letting them create seed pods. And they're leaving because they don't like the warm weather. They like the cold weather. So they're leaving. Warm weather things are coming, and we'll maintain this until the end of the school year and get ready for next year. All right, so let's look around. We'll see what else is going on. We still have collard greens. We still have these Everglades tomatoes. And I think, do you have a bag of tomatoes that I can show them? I do. You're beautiful.
Let me squeeze back here.
All of these, and the students know all of these plants just came up by themselves.
how they replant. If you look on the ground, you can see them all. They're going to reseed themselves next year.
Yeah, they're all over.
Yes.
Yep, they're all over underneath here. So as they drop, they'll start growing. So we'll have another tomato forest.
Yes, we will.
I think though next year we're going to make a tomato tunnel
Okay.
and do cattle panel and see if we can get them up off the ground so that they're not in contact with the ground, which is going to cause them to maybe get a little bit funky. So we're going to take this cattle panel. It comes in a big 16-foot length, and we can make an arch with it.
That's a great idea. Then you could like crawl through the tunnel.
See, that's what I'm talking about. If you can crawl through it, like that's the best thing ever.
Yeah, no, I like that. I'll do that.
See, that's why I like you. So we will plan on that next year. We will see where the tomatoes pop up. Sometimes the volunteers are happier when they get to live where they want to live. So we'll roll with that, and we'll see if we can't make a little tomato tunnel for them, which would be cool for us and for the tomatoes, and hopefully up production. So we still have some Alabama blue collards that we got from the Working Food Southern Heritage Seed Bank up in Gainesville. We've been treating them. You can see they're coming to the end of the season. They're getting a little buggy, but we're still harvesting a little bit. These were a variety called Even Star, and we determined that out of the 4 types of collards we had, these definitely attracted more bugs than the other ones. So that was an interesting observation that we need to let Working Food know, because they keep track of how their seeds perform in different areas. So we had Even Star, Alabama Blue, and in the distance over there, White Mountain Cabbage collards, as well as our traditional Georgia Southern. We have all these amazing, again, I love volunteers. These are all volunteer zinnias that just popped up. We planted eggplants and the zinnias planted themselves. So they're looking beautiful. If Janice were here, she'd be taking home some flowers. So would Amber Lynn. And we have a little bit of kale left, but as you can see, things are kind of starting to shift and change with the season. So thank you so much. Goodbye. Bye. Check in with us later. We will be continuing through the end of the month and then starting again in the fall.
Okay, so that was Anna in the Gladiators Gardening for Good garden at Pioneer, and that was from April 22nd for Earth Day. So of course there's different things, different seasons going on right now, but the garden at the school, that's Gibbs High School, for those of you who missed the last one, Anna works with special needs children who are aging out of the system. So they are already graduated from the high school program and they are learning work skills. So she's an amazing person, very dedicated to urban agriculture and using agriculture to teach youth how to learn job skills. So Veronica goes over and helps out it's Veronica Podolskis, and she goes over and helps out on Mondays and Tuesdays at the Pioneer Garden. So she volunteered to come in and answer any questions about, actually, if you wanted to say a few things too. Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm unmuted.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you wanted to say anything about what you're doing over in the garden.
Yeah, so as you guys saw, that video was taken right before we kind of covered everything up for the summer. So for the fall, we uncovered everything. We reinvigorated the soil with mulch and seaweed, and we kind of dug up all the weeds. So there was barely any weeds because of the cover we put over, but we did take the weeds out, and we started now planting purple and green cabbages, and we've also planted our beefsteak tomatoes. So they're not doing the Everglades this year. We're a beefsteak variety just to avoid the forest sort of thing that you saw in the video. But yeah, so we're really good. We're halfway done gardening. Oh, what cover did I use? So the cover they used, it was a type of tarp material. They got it donated from the Christmas event at Tropicana Field. It was like it's a big black tarp. The name is escaping right now, but yeah, pretty much any tarp will do. Much shows. It said in the video, Anna got it donated to her. I can't remember who dropped it off though. I know the mulch is dropped off by, I believe, Robin and Tim, or not the mulch, the seaweed. They may have gotten the mulch too. I'm not 100%. But I know there are resources for, I believe Chip Drop is one of the resources, and the city also has resources for mulch as well.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm new to the Zoom chat, so thank you for sticking with me.
What's the other question? Is there another question?
Thank you so much, Veronica. Let's see if we, is there another question? No, just, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And thank you so much. And the speakers, Whitney, Veronica, Courtney, and Bill will all be available after the last presentation.
So please stick around. We're going to have a lot more time for questions and answers for anybody who's interested at the end. So we're moving on to Courtney West, and she is going to talk about permaculture design and food equity. She is a full spectrum doula. She loves gummy bears and is working with Black Birth Justice. And so we're gonna start her video.
Hi, I'm Courtney with 3 Gems Birth Services, and welcome to my garden. This is the 3 Gems Garden. So come on to the south side of my house, where we're having we're growing cranberry hibiscus and papayas right now. They're coming up. They look so nice. Now we go to our first bed over here. And in here we have 3 different types of kale. We have curly, we have dinosaur kale, and then Russian kale. And then we have 2 different types of cabbages, bok choy, and arugula. 2 different arugulas. And then if you look it over and see the babies are growing. And then we have our lone tomato that's going to do healthy and strong in the back. Now if you're over here, you can see the little chickens are just chewing through everything. And then over here is right over by our chaya. Yes, and then our baby chicks. We have moon, stars, sky, and sun. Over here by the front door is my herb garden, where we have a mixture of dill, basil, rosemary, and some other herb I put in here. I think it's mint. We're gonna run with that. Over here is one of our butterfly trees, Cuban oregano, and elderberry to go along with the large elderberry tree over there. Mulberry over here, elderberry over here. So, and this area is where I do most of my seeding and gardening. When I'm just moving them over, I do this as my work area, and then we move it into the yard. So, thanks for coming to my garden.
Okay, thank you, Courtney, for that wonderful video. And
hi, I'm Courtney with 3 Gems Birth Services, and welcome to my garden. This is the 3 Gems Garden.
Next slide.
Sorry. This month has been very challenging and stressful for me. So I literally lost all of my garden due to not listening lawnmen, neighbors cutting down other trees, and just working a lot. So I was really having to just start back to scratch. And so due to this and me being aggravated by it, I just really kind of focused on like using my chickens, getting the ground really fertilized and everything else with that. And then Lisa came over, and I'm so thankful, and helped me just really put in everything and just start with a fresh start with new gardening and just really taking it on step by step and just enjoying the new process of just clearing everything out and starting fresh.
So we can also, if anyone has any questions, you can do questions in the chat, or you can also unmute yourself and ask a question. And like I said, we're going to have questions at the end. But I will ask you a question, Courtney. Something we spoke about earlier. You kind of mentioned it, but this is kind of about resilience. You know, the fact that you had a great garden going, and then you had like something happen. Could you speak a little bit more to that?
Yeah, this was just a challenging time. You know, it was just challenging. Just when you're doing urban agriculture and doing these things in neighbors, you have to really know who your neighbors are. And it's just really frustrating when you put so much into your garden. For me, gardening was my way of healing from losing my grandmother. So to have everything destroyed was a much deeper feeling than just, oh my God, my plants died. It was like you killed what I had left. And so I had to really sit with that for a minute because I didn't plan anything for a while. I just like, I don't care. I don't care. I'm done. It's gone, whatever. And then I had to just really think about it. It's like, okay, well, what does this mean to me? What is this really about? This is about helping my family, helping families that I work with. And how do you heal and how do you deal with everything that's going on between work and politics? There had to be some kind of silver lining in the world. So that's when I taking on chickens again. And that came at the perfect time, which we got them literally a week before my grandmother's birthday, who's not here. It was the first birthday without her. For this one's birthday, those were her gifts. And going in and doing that gave me the resilience and gave me the purpose of, I can still do this. Doesn't matter if it's all gone, I can just start again. So that's what I did. And I had wonderful friends to remind me constantly that I can keep going and I can start again. So we started again.
Awesome. And you wanted to mention something earlier. You said to remind you about mentioning about the wild chickens versus your previous chickens.
Oh, yes. Wild chickens are so much better than tame chickens. Tame chickens that you get from the store are just dumb. I've realized that they're just not, they just lack, for having living in an urban agricultural setting, you want some chickens that have some sense. Street smart chickens are helpful. So I am very blessed to have wild chickens that a wonderful farmer gave to me, who was out in Lakeland. She had found these 14 chicks and asked me how many would I want. I said 4. And I was just very thankful for that. And I got them and I realized how smart they are compared to the chickens I had before. My neighbor's dog ate all 5 of my previous chickens and went, oh, well, it happens. So these chickens are much more intelligent and are able to, make it. So I implore any of you, if you want chickens, go ask the farmer, go find out where you can get something more wild than your good old pet store chickens.
Awesome.
We
Wonderful.
also talk about, last time you mentioned that your garden, you made it primarily from donations and things that you found around, so you didn't have to spend a lot of money on setting. I thought that was amazing. Could you talk a little more about that?
Yes, this whole new batch were all donated by Lisa, actually. It was, my birthday was Thursday, so this was a birthday gift to me. It's just that everything has been donated or harvested by seeds, plants, everything. The sweet potatoes that I grew the first time were donations. And I just love that it's still in that setting. It's like, okay, what can we trade? Even speaking to other midwives and things that I know, it's like, hey, when this grows out, can we swap cuttings and things like that? I just feel like that just makes a better community of gardening. And I just very proud of that's what my garden's been made out of. Just people that loved me enough and believed in what I wanted to do and wanted to help me, help my family and help other families. So that's very special to me.
I saw that your garden bed, it was like from bricks and things that you had around.
Yep. I literally, when I started my gardening, I decided I wanted to keep it under $500 and I wanted to just not worry about all that. So what do I have in my yard? And I took everything I had in my yard and I had old pavers, I had bricks, I had pieces of wood, and I broke it all down and just built whatever I had there. And that was my mission. It's like, how can you build a garden with whatever you have? What if you don't have all, thousands of dollars to drop in a garden the first time? How can you do this so I can mimic it for someone else? It's like, okay, I started that way, and also started in pots when I first started. And they're all either donated pots or pots that my grandmother had around her house. Hold on one second. My children don't realize that I need to interview and not have them squawking right next to me. So
There's the cranberry hibiscus were actually just cuttings from my cranberry hibiscus, so it didn't cost anything for those 3 nice bushes. So if you cut off cranberry hibiscus and just put them in water, they'll sprout roots. So they're very easy to propagate. So sometimes you can be very generous by just making cuttings from your garden. And there's actually Desiree. Courtney, I don't know if you can see the chat. Desiree said, Courtney, I have some Suriname spinach, longevity, and CISO spinach cuttings. Would you like some?
I would love some. Thank you so much.
Other than that, it looks like we just had a couple of comments. Love seeing chickens. Glad you did not give up trying with your garden.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story about starting again. It's a helpful message for me.
Thank you.
So thank you. Thank you so much, Courtney.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, so that's me. Okay. Our next speaker is the illustrious Bill Bilodeau. He is a nature lover, a spiritual. Oh, I can't see. He's spiritual something.
I had to do the same
spiritual explorer, of course, and the Gita gardener, which is my name for him. I'm gonna keep calling you the Gita gardener until it sticks. So, Bill Bilodeau, take it away with your video.
Enough juice in the. Okay, come on in. Hey, welcome to Earth Song. Let's do a little tour. Papayas, bananas, Thai pepper leaf, beautiful plant, edible too. And here are the boxes that we talked about at the last meeting. All right, I'd like to tell you about some of the things that are being harvested here right now. There are obviously some tomatoes here. They're faring modestly. They're not really cranking yet. There's a lot of new soil in the bed, and that may be a factor. Lettuce is doing well. I've been harvesting this regularly. There's some herbs in here. We've got oregano here. I like oregano for many different things. Basil, Mexican tarragon, and arugula. Wonderful plant, very nutritious. If you're not growing arugula, you really should try it. It's easy to grow and very, very productive. Okay, and on the other side here, we have some marjoram and a couple of edible weeds here. Amaranth. Just a volunteer, wonderful food, good taste. No need not to eat it. And here's some purslane coming, just starting out, and some of it coming up in the beds. This is another wild plant that's very good food and worth eating. It has medium chain fatty acids. Okay, we'll go over to this bed here. All right, we have a lot of cabbage family plants in here. Starting on the edges, we have pak choi, wonderful, wonderful plant. That was my favorite plant last year. It looks great in the garden, grows quickly and easily, and gives you a good amount of produce. Kale, dinosaur kale, the blue-green plant, which is so beautiful and also very nutritious, tasty. Here's purslane coming. And we also get, because we have seaweed in here, we get mangroves coming up. Mangroves in your garden. Swiss chard not being very vigorous here yet. I don't know, I have to keep supporting that with some organic fertilizer and see what happens. And here's a new tomato here. That's cherry tomato. The other tomatoes you saw earlier were red slicers. All right, here's bed number 3. You see these screens here? These are to keep the squirrels off of the open areas in the garden here. I've planted some beets from seed here, and the squirrels like to be in here in the morning and digging in some of these open areas. So just laying this screen on top will prevent them from digging. And as the plants come up, you can either raise this up a little bit, or if the plants come up 4 or 5 inches, the squirrels should leave them alone, normally do. Here in the corner we have some kale. It's the curly kale. Not exactly cranking. And red Russian kale. And right here, broccoli. The broccolis are doing very well. Really moving right along. And more lettuce. And we have nasturtium here in the corner, the bush nasturtium, not the vine. Down below we have some really nice purslane here, which I showed you in the beds, but I'm letting this grow here so I can harvest it. And this bed number 4 here, we have cabbages. We get like four cabbages here, and we have 5 perennial kale or collards. These plants will continue from year to year. You don't have to replant them. It's the first time I grow them. They can get very tall, 8 feet tall or so, and give you produce year round and from year to year. So that will be an amazing experiment here, and worthwhile if they don't need too much care. Peppers here. This is a medium hot pepper, Anaheim. Watch your peppers though for white fly, which accumulates underneath the plant. You may have to spray them or rub them down with some oil or soap. Oil and soap and water. White fly is a real problem in the garden, and they're particularly attracted to peppers and tomatoes. And more lettuce here. Lettuce is not doing as well here. I think bananas are casting some shade here, so they're not quite as vigorous as the other lettuces. More mangrove.
All right, and thank you, Bill, for your video.
Juice in there. Okay, come on in. Hey.
All right.
Hey.
Hey.
So thank you so much, Bill. That was an awesome video and mini tour. Now, many of you have been to Bill's house before, but if you have not, definitely schedule a tour for Earth Song. He is starting to do small tours, and also his nursery is amazing. I get almost all my plants from him. Actually, the ones I got for Courtney that I didn't have cuttings from my house were from Bill. And that he was just highlighting the 4 ones that we did last month, and to see the progress. But his entire yard is permaculture, nursery, and native plants. So without further ado, Bill, I think you're muted right now, but would you like to say anything else, or are there any questions for Bill?
Yeah, just contact Lisa if you need my my contact information here. And Earth Song, you can look on Facebook, Earth Song. and you should be able to write me a message there. I'll be glad to have you come over and see what I have. And, recently, what's been so prolific are bananas. I just in the last few weeks harvested 4 huge bunches of bananas and ended up selling a lot of them. You know, just it was a lot more than I could manage personally. So I froze some, gave some away, and sold a whole bunch. So bananas are a lot of work at times, but very rewarding. I love the plants. Any questions for me?
Yeah, we got one in the chat. What soil source did you use? And you mentioned an organic fertilizer ukulele may use. Can you share that?
Okay, well, I tried a new source this year of commercial soil. It was from
Carol's, right?
Carol's Building Supply. And it's supposedly made of peat moss, pine bark, and manure. I don't know what kind of manure, but it's always a little edgy when you first buy a new source of commercial soil, see what happens, you know. Sometimes if they use manures, sometimes they're not thoroughly composted. And but I'm having pretty good results right now. What I did was I filled, see, I had these 4 beds, and the volume was almost exactly 3 cubic yards to fill them. So I ordered 2 cubic yards of soil, and then I used a cubic yard of my own compost in there. So it should be enough. And then organic fertilizers, I use azomite for a mineral fertilizer, and have an organic fertilizer that has about 5% nitrogen in it for the nitrogen component. So I got somewhat of a late start, but the greens are doing well. I'm eating plenty of greens right now, and I hope the weather doesn't turn too cold so the tomatoes will start producing. If it does turn cold and the tomatoes don't do well, then I'll just replant them in February or so for the spring.
Great. There's a comment that says that who is that? It says we love to see your garden.
What's that?
There's a comment. Okay, here we are. Where did it go?
Okay, let's see.
Oh, it's just it's up a little bit.
Bill, I've used their topsoil with great results, but I switched to their blend and have signs of herbicide contamination. Ooh, did you want to comment on that at all, Bill?
Well, I don't see it from the growth of the plants so far. Some things are growing slowly, and some things are growing very well. So I don't see anything that looks injured.
Okay.
I would like to converse with Desiree about that, you know, and I'd like to find out about her experience or the information she has.
Okay,
Because we all need to share information around soils. Soils are such an important thing, and it really can be devastating to get a bad batch of soil. So a lot of work and a lot of expense for corrective measures. So Desiree, let's talk.
So there's Liz said, are there other permaculture gardens that you would recommend to see? I'm helping with starting a permaculture community garden. And need ideas?
Yeah, if you contact me, I'll be glad to share that with you. But I have to talk to the people first and see if they're up for visitation or you know what they have going on.
How about like larger scale ones that already offer tours? Do you know of any of those, or do you recommend any of those?
Gee, not offhand, not right now.
I don't. Where are you? Is it Liz? I don't know. Well, I'm from the Fort Myers area. I can recommend Echo if you wanted to go check that out. the Echo Nursery and Gardens down in North Fort Myers. I want to go check them out.
Okay, I'm actually going down that way this Saturday, supposedly to Echo to do a group tour with the community garden I'm with. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And then there was a guy named Matt Reese who has, I think, a 7-acre permaculture market garden. And I think he actually has some fruit trees as well. But he's doing it all permaculture style. He took Jeff Lawton's online permaculture design certificate. So I wanted to see what his experiences are with experimenting. He did do a like little interview at Kashi, like a Zoom meeting thing. And he said, be careful. People repeat things like parrots, basically. And he says, be careful of what advice you get when people say things that are a repeat from what they heard, and it's not from like fact or experience. So he said, be careful with that, with like doing permaculture.
Where is his place?
His place is in Punta Gorda.
Punta Gorda.
Yeah. And then there's a guy named Jay Reynolds who is on Pine Island near Fort Myers. He has 5 acres, and he took Jeff Lawton's course as well. He and Matt Reese talk, and he is really doing some really interesting permaculture there. And he does raised beds, and he has a lot of fruit trees. Most of his is fruit orchard, and then he plants other plants underneath there. And he finished building his house, and he's doing a lot of work by himself on his house. He has a SIP house, I think, or insulated concrete form. He built a house on the 5 acres. And what's interesting is his whole technique and everything is interesting, but I said, I'm going to be in the area. I'd like to see your place. I saw it last year, and it was in the initial stages. And so I'd like to see how it has progressed over, the last year or whatever. But he hasn't responded back. I think he's so busy right now, he doesn't want me to visit.
Well, I just realized we kind of went right into the Q&A area without like actually officially thanking the whole panel. So thank you so much to Whitney and Courtney and Bill, and for Veronica standing in for
Did we lose
actually
them? Back.
your internet connection is unstable. Can people hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay.
It froze for a little while.
Okay. So somebody mentioned, is it Christine? Liz is building on what Jungle J started at UUC Beacon. So that's a great recommendation at Beacon Food Forest. So if anyone wants that information, it's Jungle J. I don't know if he's in the group today. He was planning on being here, but Jungle J he started a great permaculture installation at Unitarian Universalist Church up in Clearwater at Beacon. So you want to take the next one? I think there's some more. We might have missed some up above.
We've got a question again from Desiree. Does anyone have experience with Lufkin's organic soil?
Yes, I do. I don't know if anyone the panelists want to.
If any of our panelists want to address that.
Oh, I think everyone's muted.
Oh, everybody's muted. If you try to talk. Okay, there we are.
I've bought soils for various uses for growing wildflowers and so from Lufkin, and I've had good success with it. I haven't, what I've done is use that soil and added my own compost to grow vegetables, and it has worked out. Usually I have them add some sand to it, to their potting mix. 20% sand and then add my own compost.
I don't know if anyone can confirm this, but I had heard that they had shut down. That's why I made a sad face when I mentioned it. But I get like one of their last big loads during COVID. So I don't know if anyone can confirm if they're still open.
I was just there 2 days ago.
Yay! Okay, awesome.
And got a load of soil, yes.
Okay. And it's still for sale, right? They were looking to sell Lufkins?
Well, not that I'm aware of. They don't have a sign out there that I saw.
And, well, maybe if anyone's interested, contact them because they told me that they were definitely looking at passing the torch.
Okay.
They were on vacation. Is it Desiree? Okay, thank you, Desiree. Okay, so any other questions for our panelists?
Bill, I was kind of wondering about that screened house behind you in your video. Would you mind talking a little bit about that and what that is?
The screens, well, on the soil?
The screen structure.
No, there was a screened structure behind you in part of the video. Like it looked like a big screen house.
Oh, yes. Well, okay. I call that the cage. But originally it was 6 4x4 posts spaced out with 2 muscadine grapes growing on the center posts, and then wire connecting the posts and the grapes running around on the wire. I got no grapes. The critters were getting all the grapes.
Oh, wow.
So I decided to enclose it all in 1/4-inch hardware cloth. So I made, I just utilized the 6 posts and built a little framing with some 2x4s, and then so I could attach the hardware cloth there. And 1/4-inch hardware cloth is a great resource in the garden because the mesh is small enough so that mice can't get through it. So now I get all the grapes. And also I put some benches in there along the long walls, and I can grow seedlings in there, and they're protected from depredations of the animals, So it's a nice little structure. It's very, if we get a hurricane, I'm not sure it's going to stand up, but I'm really happy with the space, and the grapes are doing fine in there, and the seedlings do fine in there too.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
So for all the panelists, what over the last, what's it been, 6 weeks since we were together? So over the past 5-6 weeks, what was your biggest challenge that you encountered in your new garden? And then what did you do to overcome it? Or do you need our help or these suggestions? So I don't know if you want to start in order like Whitney. I don't know if you want to start.
Because I view my garden as just a place for me to kind of play and experiment, I definitely planted things that would have done better if I planted them now when it was a lot cooler. So I had some pests attacking some of my plants, and some of my plants didn't like the weather. But I thought that since my garden was mostly shady, I was just curious what would happen. And another challenge that I had was actually when Lisa was there, I had 3 little watermelons growing, and my littlest watermelon, she noticed it had a little hole in it. So I decided to remove it because I didn't want whatever was eating it to get to my other watermelon. And it was really tiny. I don't know if I can show, I don't know if you'd be able to see my little watermelon guy.
Yeah.
Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, there you are. That was the cutest little watermelon. I think you're muted, Whitney.
Oh, you are muted again somehow.
I don't know how I did that. So I don't know the last part that you guys heard, but when I cut it in half, I couldn't resist. So I smelt it, and it smelled like watermelon. And so I licked it and it was sweet and it tasted like watermelon and it had fully developed seeds. So I didn't understand how something so tiny could already be ripe. And now I'm confused because I have 2 watermelons that are larger than this little itty bitty walnut sized watermelon. And I don't know if they are possibly already ripe or if I should leave them alone until maybe they get bigger.
I think you just created the first 1-bite watermelon.
It's so tiny.
Single serving. We can serve them on airplanes, right?
Yeah, it was pretty cute though.
Okay, so I was gonna say Anna, Veronica, did you know of any challenges you guys had in the past month and a half?
Well, sorry if you can hear PBS Kids in the background, first off. But for a challenge in the garden, I don't know if this counts as a challenge, but as we uncovered stuff and we started mulching more, and as the soil was like rejuvenated and reintroduced to rain and sunshine once more, a bunch of volunteer plants kept coming up. So like we had a bunch of onions just show up out of nowhere. We had a bunch of tomatoes. Those beans that she talked about in the video, those started coming up too. And it really broke our hearts because we had to like remove most of them because they're in our way of our current beds. So it's just like kind of, it's just an unfortunate thing that happens. It's like you have these beautiful plants who just, oh, Sam just went in front of my light, sorry. These plants keep coming back and they keep giving. So it's interesting just kind of seeing what shows up in the garden. Not necessarily a bad thing, but I was personally sad that we had to take those out.
Did you guys save any? Like, did you put them in pots or anything?
Oh yeah. I actually took 2 Everglades tomatoes home. So yeah, that we were able to distribute some throughout the volunteers and bring let the kids take some home to their families as well. So they didn't go to waste, but yeah.
Thank you. And Courtney, I know you had a huge challenge that you already kind of mentioned about. Is there anything else you wanted to add or a different challenge you might have had? You've already gotten some help, some people volunteering to give you some replacement plants, but I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to mention.
You know, it was just about time, just not having time and not trying to figure out how to balance how can I do everything because I'm on call for 3 births. I'm back working full-time pediatrics and part-time, a birth assistant and then a part-time assisting a midwife. So it's just a lot of things to be moving all at once. And then with, because it took so much time to start it and then to lose everything plus everything on my plate, I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? So it's like kind of learning how to balance out and carving out time to just really garden because that's my me time. So those are like the main challenges, like, okay, how do you get started? How do you redo it and everything else? And just be like, okay, wrap your head around, well, what do you want to do? And how do you do it better this time than you did last time? So.
Awesome, thank you.
So Courtney, I'll have some seedlings for you too.
Oh, thank you.
And what about you, Bill? Did you have any challenges that you'd like to talk about in the last 6 weeks or so?
Well, yeah, my challenge was recreating a whole new vegetable garden and structure this year because my former beds were edged with logs and they were all rotting and I couldn't get the logs from the brush site the way I used to get them, from the city brush sites. So my challenge was to get something built that would be durable for, at least for a while and allow me to grow enough vegetables to satisfy, my needs here. So it happened, it just, the pressure of the moment got me to really make a radical change and build some garden boxes. And once I had them built, then it was, it was downhill from there,
Well, we're glad you were able to be resourceful and figure out another way.
Yeah.
Were there any questions from the audience? Anybody out there that has any more questions for our panel?
Which you're welcome to either put in the chat or unmute yourself at this juncture and ask away.
And while you guys think about that, I do have another question for the panel. What is your next step? So, oh, someone's raising their hand actually. Oh, Vivi
Hi.
or
Hello,
That's George.
Hi.
my name's George. I help run the Gulfport Community Garden. We had a lot of white flies this fall. Sprayed them several times. Did anybody else have that experience? It seemed like more insect damage than usual. Maybe the weather, it's hot and humid.
White flies are very common, particularly on peppers and tomatoes. Not so much on the cabbage family plants,
Right.
thankfully. But it's something that has to be monitored very regularly, at least every week, you know, and just see where they're showing up. And then you can spray them. It doesn't, you can spray them with just a solution of soap and oil and water, just to smother them. Yellow sticky traps help, seem to work in the garden too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, white flies are a problem. If you have a lot of weeds around, very often the white fly are transferred from the weeds into the garden plants.
And now bok choy looked good, and then now a few of them are just kind of collapsing. I'm thinking something's happening at the root level. Does that sound like anything?
The upper part of the plants look all right.
Uh,
Other, you know, I mean, you don't
yeah,
find
they don't look like there's insect damage on the leaves, but it just seems like all of a sudden a
Yeah.
few of them just started like wilting.
Well, I would dig up one of the worst ones and look at the roots, and also see what's happening in the soil there. You know, if there's moisture in the soil, and if you see anything unusual in the soil. But look at the roots very carefully.
Yeah, they didn't look very well on the few that collapsed.
Yeah. Are they getting overwatered?
Possibly, I don't think so, but possibly.
Hey, Bill. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
It's Kenny Bishop.
Yeah, sounds like Kenny Bishop.
Good. Hey.
Hey, Ken.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, his white fly, the trick is to catch them early, just monitor and catch them early. But the soaps work good if you catch them early and get them good and saturated, and the neem oil is good. But the bok choy is probably nematodes.
Excuse me?
I bet it's nematodes. It's you know.
With bok choy, you may be right.
And then, because it's pretty hard to overwater right now, it's been so dry. So it's probably nematodes.
Mm-hmm.
But, just keep at it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We've got a couple of comments and questions in the chat here. So Desiree says, yes, George, I have sprayed off with water and used horticultural spray. We've got Deborah says, I'm growing Chinese cabbage. Am I supposed to tie the leaves together because they aren't forming tight leaves? Bill, you've got the all the lettuces and things. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I'm not sure what she means by Chinese cabbage. You mean pak choy or bok choy or those things?
Let's see if she comes back to us on that. We've also got Rachel says, hi, Ken.
No.
Oh, go ahead.
Let me see my start video. Hi, guys. Hi, Bill. It's been years. I mean, Chinese cabbage, you know, it's that one that grows up like that, and it's really, I don't know, that but
Yeah.
the leaves are growing, but they're falling.
They're falling.
Instead of, I don't know, maybe that's what happens first, and then eventually they bond.
I don't know. I've never seen that.
Does it look like this? Sorry, I just pulled up a picture of Chinese cabbage and this
Yeah.
is what it showed. I don't know if you can see it
That
well.
looks like bok choy, but yeah, it's like that. I guess yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, so I was just looking up a picture.
Yeah.
I've been growing a variety called pak choy. It's not very tall. It's done very well, very easy to grow. I love the flavor of it. I love the way it looks in the garden. I've had no problem with it.
It's just that it has the tight leaves, and
What I was
like your
looking at-
picture did, Veronica.
Oh, sorry. My audio lags a bit, so I didn't realize you were talking. My bad.
Napa.
But what
That's it. Maybe Napa. That's it. Napa cabbage. Somebody said
the
that.
Napa cabbage. Yeah. The Napa and the Chinese, I think, are the same variety. That's the one I pulled up on my
Right.
phone. With most cabbages, it has the wide leaves first, and then the actual bulb, the cabbage that they sell, grows in later. So maybe that's what it is. If your I don't know how old your cabbages are, but if they're younger, maybe they haven't gotten that tight bulb yet. Maybe they're still having the loose leaves right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Is that I don't know how to tell. I don't even remember when I did it. I planted them. It's probably been a couple months.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure what the timetable for that is, but I know most cabbages, you don't need to do anything with them. They'll just start growing the ball on their own.
Okay.
So maybe look for that. I'll see if I can research some more. I'll let you know.
Look it up too. I was just, since I was here, I thought I'd ask. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Deborah. We also have another question here that is for the entire panel, and that's from Desiree. What's the advice for nematodes? And she said she knows it's a long answer, but. Courtney, would you like to speak on nematodes? Is that an experience that you've had? Still here.
Sorry, I had to go ahead. I don't have experience with nematodes as of yet, so there's no advice I can really give you on that, unfortunately. Sorry.
All right, thank you, Courtney.
I'd like to offer something. It's not very hopeful, but nematodes are probably the biggest insect problem we have around here. They're very common in sandy soils in Florida. They're root knot nematodes. There are many different types of nematodes, but the one that's a problem is called a root knot nematode, and it enters the roots of the plants and creates these swellings in the roots, and it actually sucks the vigor from the plants. Certain plants are more susceptible than others, and first of all, you need to, through experience or through some kind of reading, find out which plants are more susceptible. Like okra is generally very susceptible. Swiss chard is very susceptible. That's in the beet family, except for the white-ribbed Swiss chard. That seems to be more resistant. If you search solutions online, it'll say more organic matter. But when we had the big garden downtown on 50th Street, we had loads of organic matter in there, as evidenced by our soil tests, which confirmed that, but we still had serious nematode problems. So I'm suspecting that the best way to approach something I need to try too is try to outcompete them with other soil organisms by using compost teas, for example, and trying to really build up the soil microorganism population in the soil so that there's balance there, and so that the root knot nematodes have a lot of competition. It may take time, but look for vegetables that are nematode resistant. For example, in tomatoes, there are tomatoes, hybrid tomatoes that are VFN. The N stands for nematode resistant. And you learn through, over the years, if you have crops that are continually bothered by nematodes, you learn not to grow those particular crops or those varieties. You know, the nematodes are a great challenge here in Florida.
Hey, Bill, this is Liz. I had a question for you that you might know. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
The question is I had put down like, I'm clearing out a lot of weeds in an area and just letting the, I put down like 12 inches of mulch and letting it just decompose. And then like next year, maybe it'll be decomposed enough to put plants in. And someone made a comment about when he gets mulch dropped, you know, like fresh mulch, not at like a compost pile, like from the city of a Safety Harbor or St. Peter, whatever. But if you get fresh compost from a tree surface dropped, and sometimes they have pine bark or pine needles in it, he was saying it's not good for like a vegetable garden. And I didn't know what the reasoning is behind that statement. So I don't know if you know the answer or if have you had any problems with?
Yeah, well, first of all, pine needles tend to be quite acidic. And I know my soils here local at my house are pH is around neutral. So some pine needles would probably be beneficial if they lower the pH a little bit, but a lot of pine needles are not good. Most of the vegetables like a pH between 6 and 7. If you get a lot of pine needles, you could drop it lower than 6, and that's not good. The only thing that would grow in highly acidic soils here are blueberries. And also there may be some resins in the pine that are not beneficial to the plant. So a modest amount of pine needles may not be a problem, but a good amount of them would be a problem.
Thank you.
I forgot, I asked a question earlier that we had some good questions, but I wanted to go back to the panel because we're coming to the end of the program. It went so fast, but could you each talk about what your next step is going to be from here? This is just, you know, this is a quick turnaround, 5.5 weeks or whatever it was from beginning to end. So what would be the next steps for each of you? So if you wanted to start, Whitney, what your next step is for your garden.
So my garden is very new. I moved into this house in June, and I don't think I had anything going until about August. So everything is still pretty new. The only next step that I have in mind right now is to complete that pineapple half circle. So if anyone eats a lot of pineapple and they want to donate the heads to me, I would love that. I have always wanted a mango tree. I have a lot of pine trees in my yard, so I have a lot of shade. So I'm not entirely sure where I'm going to fit that in, but I hope to have a mango tree in the near future.
I have a comment. Is the Saturday morning market open again? Because that is a good source of pineapple tops when the vendors are there, and it's waste to some of those vendors and a gold mine for somebody who wants to grow pineapples.
So like those smoothie vendors, maybe? Is that where I would go?
There used to be one vendor there that would sell a lot of pineapples. They would have whole fresh pineapples there, and they would core it, you know, peel it in a machine and they cut the tops off, and they just throw the tops in a box, and it was waste to them. So if you go there at the end of the market or late in the day, they're happy to get rid of them.
They're back in Williams
Advice. Thank you.
They're back in Williams Park with a limited market. I don't know if those, I haven't been there. You
Okay.
can go online and look up Saturday morning market, and they have a list of vendors if you don't want to go there without knowing for sure that what you want is there. So I would recommend doing that before going, unless you just want an outing.
I've been in a lot, so I would really like to get out.
Hey, I had attended two mango festivals, and I did get a list. It's kind of like a private list of new mango cultivars that I can send you. It tells you the height and all these other information on and these are some of the newer varieties that they have developed over the years. And Echo actually sells them, some of the varieties there that like peach cobbler and a couple of other ones. There's, some other ones that some of the people who really like mangoes grow. And that's like my friend Jay Reynolds on Pine Island. He has a lot of the newer cultivars as well. But I can give you that little list or a file. I think it's a Excel file. I'll send it to you.
Okay, Liz, thanks. I'll send you my email.
Send me your email and I can give you that list. Because I'm gonna get some mangoes too.
Veronica, do you want to give us any updates if you know of Anna's next steps for the garden where you're working?
Well, we're going to continue invigorating the soil with mulch and seaweed. I think I said that earlier, but yeah, we're going to keep up that process just to make sure the soil is nice and healthy for the hungry plants we're putting in there. And we're going to continue planting up our garden because right now I believe we only have half of it planted with the entire northern side. So we're planting plants in the northern side and then moving south so those plants can get big and they won't outshade the ones that are closer south. So we're just going to kind of do that. We're going to work on building some trellising for the tomatoes. I believe that's all for now. There's also a little food forest we're going to be starting up again with the Jubilee tree. We're going to be kind of cleaning up that area as well. So it's just a lot of maintenance, planting, and just kind of making sure the babies are all nice and healthy.
You. Okay, and then Courtney, what are your next steps?
So I want to, since my garden is really new, I really just want to take some time to really look at it, take care of it, and just really start that again, and also kind of relay out how I want my garden to look now that, of learning some things about my neighbor's dogs and things like that. How do I want to set up how I want everything to go from here on out? So what my original plan was to move things closer to my back fence, but now after knowing that my neighbor's dog has a taste for chickens, I'm not going to do that. So just kind of figure out what works best for us for this yard and this garden.
All right, thank you. Thank you all for your answers there. We've also got, let's see. Oh, back to the nematodes. Does anyone have any experience using chitin from crustaceans for nematodes? That was Rachel.
I don't, but I know it's recommended in some quarters, and I think it's well worth trying. But I don't have personal experience using it.
Bill, have you ever been able to rescue plants after you've seen signs of nematodes? Because I've always had to kind of just remove everything that I'm going after and try to turn the soil and start fresh. I've never been able to reverse it once I've seen evidence of them.
No, once they get into the roots, the plant is generally lost. Yeah.
We've got about 5 minutes left. Where do you get your soil tested? Let's see. I think we're talking about for nematodes. Where do you get your soil tested? I think, does the county do that?
Well, the county will test for, I think for pH and maybe some, I think they send it off to the University of Florida for nutrient analysis, but for nematodes, I don't know. I don't know.
The university will do that too.
University will do that? Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to treat some nematodes here coming up because it is a big problem and we need to try to address it, you know, with the shrimp. I think that question about the ocean, all that stuff helps, definitely. That they don't like those shrimp peels. It's like a dehydrated shrimp peel, I think. Those are real good.
Okay.
But all the oils work too, but it'll kill all the nematodes. But if you have areas that are real bad, you have to try it. But the oils are, most of them are all armory, you know, the sesame oil, the thyme oil, and all that will probably give you some results if you get enough water and get enough penetration. It's worth trying. I know we're going to start trying to do it because there's really nothing else. Well, there are some other things from in India and they're doing some research or having results with the different funguses, some of the Pseudomonas and stuff. The Indian Institute of Horticulture Research on YouTube, you can find a lot of stuff. Dr. Reyes, there's pretty interesting talks about that. But there is hope, I think, but it does take some time and effort. So that's it. Maybe we can try to all work on the nematodes a little bit together because it is a big issue for everyone eventually. So that's it.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, Ken. Can folks say again where they're getting the seaweed? That's from Christine.
I get mine down. I'm down in the South Pinellas Point, and there's some parks right along the water, but there's also boat ramps. So a lot of people get them from boat ramps as well.
I would go to North Shore, and we went to Lassing Park once as well for the seaweed.
I go down by the Skyway Bridge.
We all go to different places.
And it looks like Desiree says she also goes to the Skyway Beach. Veronica mentioned boat ramps. Also have ours picked up and dropped off by volunteers. We've got somebody confirming UF does soil testing, IFAS does soil testing. Predator nematodes can kill the bad nematodes. That's Larry to comment. Does anybody want to talk about predator nematodes?
Well, one more question about the nematodes. Has anybody had experience with covering with black plastic the beds in the summers?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear. Did you say you covered the bed?
Anybody had experience treating the nematodes by putting black plastic over the beds during the summer months?
That's what we did at our garden as well, the Pioneer Garden.
And did it help?
We didn't do it specifically for nematodes. We did it for just weeds and grubs and stuff in general. It did work. I don't believe there's any nematodes at our garden to begin with, though. So as for whether or not it's effective against nematodes, I'm not sure. It might. Never hurts to try.
There's not nematodes at your garden? Is that what you said?
At the Pioneer Settlement Garden, I don't believe there's been ever nematodes.
Well,
At least I've been there.
you know how that garden was constructed was with 2 feet of soil builder, which is all compost material. To start
Exactly.
with.
Yeah.
So,
That really helps bring it down.
yeah.
So that keeps the nematode. Yeah, raised beds are the way to go if you're worried about nematodes.
Okay.
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 I think we're about ready to wrap it up.
Everyone can afterward, we're going to officially end the meeting, but we'll leave this open so people can converse. And a lot of people have been wanting to spend more time together, and since we weren't able to do an actual tour, this is the time that people can actually hang out and ask questions on.
But thank you again for being with us tonight, both our audience and our panel members. Thank you again to Whitney Blair, Anna Scott, and Veronica for sitting in for Anna Scott, and Courtney West, and Bill Bilodeau. Thank you all, and have a wonderful evening if you're logging off. Good night.
Night.
I see you, Joy. Hi, Joy. Hey.
Daniel says hi, Joy, by the way.
Bye.
Thank you. So Bill, yeah, I didn't get a chance to talk to you about where those plants were going.
Where the plants are going?
The plants that I got from you.
Oh,
Yeah, so thank you so much. That was perfect.
good.
Yeah, I want to.
By the way, I was very impressed with Veronica tonight and how she managed. I've never seen her speak so much.
Yeah, she's usually hands in the soil kind of girl.
Wonderful, wonderful. Very, very well done.
Yeah, that's nice of her to do that. I should have said another, get well to Anna Scott. I'm sure she'll be back in the classroom soon.
Crazy year.
Well, as Lear Shannon Parker. I don't think I know Shannon. Do I know you, Shannon? Hi, Shannon. Trying to see who all is still here. Desiree, I know Desiree. Of course,
Desiree,
Rachel.
thank you. Desiree, thank you for all your comments and questions throughout the night.
And Rachel, yeah. Rachel, I'm going to tell you that picture that you guys shared is, I was like, oh my gosh, that's right, you're almost due. I don't know if you're there or not, but beautiful, beautiful belly there.
Asking too much. No, there's really no such thing. We had a large chunk of time. We knew we were going to have a large chunk of time, so I appreciate you filling in with all your questions. That was great.
It was interesting trying to think about how to do this a tour virtually and how much time to take, because I've been on tours where it was like really in depth. So we kind of thought that but everyone was the feedback was a lot of people wanted to ask more questions and they wanted to, I think that it was a good balance of about 50-50. So thank you so much for asking questions, definitely.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's one of the silver linings of COVID. There's it's nice to get together in person, obviously, but when that's not possible, just being creative and how we can still get together and still get messages across. So,
right. And there are kind of advantages to this too, right? I mean, you don't have to get dressed. You can be at home in your PJs. You could be anywhere in the country. I mean, it really doesn't matter. And tune in if you want. So.
And talk about sustainable, man, very low carbon footprint. No driving around.
Right.
And I think it's really neat too that people can kind of get a quick idea, but then it kind of piques your interest, and you can always connect and maybe go and do a tour or go on tours together, like mentioning Echo and Beacon. There's nothing keeping people from getting together and driving separately or whatever, and meeting up and doing a little tour. And that's what Echo is starting to do, and other places are starting to do small tours outside. So it's a good way to kind of see what's going on in the area. Oh, what's that? Let's see. Nice, 3 kids. Yeah. Yes, yep. I get that. You saw both Courtney and I had her daughter and my son are friends, and we were just over at her house earlier, and so they were playing. We had to break up their play date. I think they continued it virtually, like climbing on us.
Climbing all over the house in the background. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the balloon going back.
The balloon passing back and forth. It was like, okay.
Oh, and thank you, Heather, if you're still here. Thank you so much for your help in getting the text done. And of course, amazing Darla getting that Courtney's video in. Like I literally. I
Oh,
felt
no. At the end,
felt
that
like
was
I
Heather. At the end, that was Heather. All I did was email it to Heather in the end. It was like, what is this thing that's a picture that isn't a video? Oh,
You literally, it was like delivering an organ. I was over at Courtney's waiting for her to get home, and then we like did this video, and then we ran here with the video on my phone because it was too large to send, and then sent it to Darla, dropping it, and then like, oh gosh, it was pretty fun. It was like the last half an hour we were trying to get Courtney's video in, but it worked out.
it did work out.
But it did feel like I was literally holding my phone, thinking I was like, this is so important. This is life-saving information. So, oh gosh. So it's, the travel. Yeah. I'll see you later, Bill.
Good night, Bill.
Good night.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
What is that? I think it's just a few of us.
It is.
I'm on mute and no video. Oh, have a great night. Yeah, have a great night, Desiree.
You too. Thank you.
And SUAC St. Pete, is that Heather or Jen? Maybe she's away.
She could be away. Yeah.
And then Rachel, I don't think Rachel's here anymore. I think she just left it open.
Okay.
If you can hear me, Rachel, I want to see you before you have that baby.
All right. I think we're gonna close this out.
Okay. See you later, everyone. Oh, it's recording stuff.
Do we stop the recording? Probably.
That we shared, so.